Welcome back to Science versus Conspiracy over coffee. I am your host, Conspiracy.
And I'm your host, Science.
What are we going to be talking about? It's been a couple of weeks since we've had a show. So what's on the agenda for today?
Well, I think there were a couple science pieces that I thought we could chit-chat about really quickly.
Sure.
And we were maybe going to talk about a few conspiracy things on your end as well.
So brew some coffee, pull up a chair, and open your mind. Today on Science versus Conspiracy over coffee, we'll be looking at science news stories. We'll be right back.
We're Bob and Jen, and along with our daughter and our dog Ted, we're planning on moving to California from Vancouver, BC. We're no spring chickens, but it's never too late to live the life you love. Learn how to move to California in your late 40s, our mistakes and successes, and have some laughs as you follow our journey. Will we ever make it to California? We're California dreaming, but until we get there, we are California streaming. Only on YouTube at California_streaming and on Instagram at California Stream. Links in the show notes.
What's the first story?
Well, I mean, it just came out in the news last week. Mm-hmm. There's over 19,000 undersea volcanoes that have been discovered, like just recently. And, you know, it's kind of, well, they actually said it is mind-boggling. But what's mind-boggling to me is the chaos that could wreak on society.
Right.
So, you know, I thought I wanted to kind of talk about that and talk about the fear of, we live on the coast, you know, so I've always been a little nervous. We've been living on the coast for 20 years now. And I don't see that changing. And by coast, I mean, we're not obviously right in. We're about 45 minutes in from the coast.
Right. We're not on the water.
Yeah. And I don't see us moving any closer to the water. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it's a bit nerve-wracking when you think of tsunamis that could be triggered by these underwater volcanoes potentially exploding.
Where are some of these volcanoes located?
So, yeah, they're pretty much all over the world. And, you know, it has so many implications because the more they can study about the tectonic plates and how things move, can have implications for, you know, potentially what could even happen near us eventually. And, I mean, they've talked about seamounts in a ridge near the Indian Ocean, Icelandic volcanoes. So they're really being discovered all over the place. Mm-hmm. You know, fresh crust is being made all the time. Fresh crust sounds like bread. And but you know, the positives of it, they've been finding more rare minerals under the earth. But I don't know if that's a positive or a negative too, because then they're going to start drilling and mining those, I'm sure. So there's a lot that can kind of play out from that. So I thought it was kind of interesting, and I knew you'd have some sort of conspiratorial thoughts on it.
I'm just thinking about the life that's in and around those volcanoes, because it's a really harsh environment. So if life can be detected and thriving in these volcanic areas, underwater volcanic areas, that's really harsh for organic life, then it might open the door for what we can look for outside of our solar system on some of the exoplanets that we may think are too non-Earth-like.
Well, you know, that's fascinating because there's an angle on it I didn't think you'd take. So I had not expected that whatsoever. So that's cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Number 2.
Gray hair.
Gray hair.
We're both getting it.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait. I've been wanting gray hair since I was like 15.
That's a death cab. Oh my God. And I can't wait to go gray. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
From The Sound of Settling.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So
anyway, gray hair.
Scientists have discovered what they think was the mechanism for turning your hair gray,
Okay.
and it's not child rearing.
I was going to say teenagers, but
Yeah. Yeah. So we're on the same track there.
Yeah.
So it's funny because they think it's actually stem cells. The stem cells are getting stuck in mid-transitory spaces, I guess. And the cells are kind of losing their ability to move with age. So the growth compartments and the follicles aren't, going through the coloring process anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, stem cells are kind of the base of so many different types of research these days. It's the hot thing, right? Stem cells are being used, they're talking about personalized cancer treatments, etc. So why not for looking at gray hair and aging?
But is the gray hair tied to aging? Because people like Steve Martin, who seemingly have been gray for like 100 years, like when he went gray when he was fairly young. So is it tied to, how can it be tied to aging?
Well, that's a really interesting, that would be an interesting question to ask the scientists who are looking at this, because, hair color is controlled by these, what they call melanocyte stem cells. And so maybe it's the aging of just those particular cells, not necessarily the person.
Right.
So maybe those cells age on their own kind of schedule. And for a lot of people, it's common to kind of happen in your 40s or 50s, maybe even 60s. Whereas someone like Steve Martin, his melanocyte stem cells aged faster, but it didn't affect like his other stem cells, because there's stem cells differentiate, right?
Right.
So obviously, like, it's not like it sped up his entire aging process. It's a different kind of stem cell.
Right.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting. What do you think about that?
Yeah, because I've also known not just Steve Martin, but a friend of mine, when we were in high school, he went gray and he would dye his hair black. And he wasn't like aging physically when he was in high school, but still he went gray. So there's got to be some other mechanics at work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat. I mean, stem cells, a lot of the work these days, oh, there's Ted. A lot of the work these days on stem cells is even trying to like regenerate organs, the transplant potential that they have. So, I mean, it's a fascinating area of research. And of course, there's no way we're covering that today. But I just thought it was interesting because I'm seeing more gray hairs lately.
Okay, I got some Bigfoot news.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right. So next month in Merritt, BC,
Okay.
in the Nicola Valley, which is the BC interior, they're holding their first annual Bigfoot Conference.
What?
Yeah, May 13th, from 8 till 6 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah, at the Community Arena in Merritt. Cryptozoologist researchers from all over will be attending, Sasquatch historians.
Is
And
Bigfoot himself going to make an appearance?
we can only hope. There'll be a question and answer session, so if you're in the area, definitely check it out.
Who would be in the area?
Yeah, who goes to Merritt?
Who goes to Merritt for fun? We've been there. We had family there, and it's a deserty area because it's in the interior, and a lot of logging. So like the whole place is just covered in sawdust.
Yeah, but this is actually, I just found out about this, so tickets are only $30.
What?
You can pre-order them through a Gmail account. We'll leave a link in the description. Yeah, so if anybody's interested, go check it out.
Now you have some experience with Bigfoot hunting. Well,
Not hunting.
not hunting. Bigfoot
Documentaries.
stuff.
Yeah, back in a previous life, I worked for a media company that was working with one of the top Bigfoot Sasquatch researchers Adrian Erickson, and they were producing a Bigfoot documentary, and I was involved a little bit about it.
Did anything ever transpire from that, from the doc?
Unfortunately, I don't think so. I think he tried to make something of it, but I don't think anything, that particular version of the film, I don't think that ever got produced.
Okay. We have other stuff on Bigfoot. We've done. Have we? Wait, no, you haven't.
We haven't done a Bigfoot episode yet. No.
Oh my gosh, why haven't we done a Bigfoot episode yet?
I know.
We've got to, because in another previous life, we actually compiled a fair bit of stuff because we were going to do our own Bigfoot doc actually, because we were kind of working with a bit of media filmmaking. We were toying around with anyway. And there's a lot, if you folks do know the BC area, there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings and Bigfoot kind of memorabilia and whatnot in the Harrison Hot Springs area. So we were going to go and film, and they have like all kinds of Bigfoot mementos and souvenirs. And
Yeah, and even upstairs at the Harrison Museum, there's a whole Bigfoot exhibit.
yeah. So if Bigfoot does, kind of tickle your fancy, go to Harrison Hot Springs if you're in the area. Never mind the actual gorgeous hot springs, and the lake there is amazing. But Bigfoot sightings, there's a Sasquatch Inn, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and the one of the main highways, I think the Lougheed Highway, was originally the Sasquatch Highway.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Really, eh? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We should definitely come back to Sasquatch sooner than later.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will, because I know you have stuff on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving along. What do we got?
Big tobacco.
Big tobacco.
I'd like to get your conspiratorial take on this, because U.S. cigarette smoking has dropped to an all-time low.
Okay.
Now only 1 in 9 adults are saying that they're a current smoker. Now, e-cigs,
That was going to be... Yep.
e-cigs have gone up. It's risen to 1 in 17. So, I mean, it's still not as much as cigarette smoking, but, the rates are rising. But, they looked at, there was a study done, and it used to be in the 60s, it was like 42%
Holy cow.
of U.S. adults claim to be smokers. And then decades have passed with, increases in taxes, which results in price hikes for the consumer, as well as just increases in tobacco product price itself. And of course, smoking bans, changes in social acceptability. And then, of course, none of that is to say more and more research on health concerns.
Right.
So now they say it's down to about 11% of U.S. Adults. So that's the 1 in 9. That's really low. That's really good. But like, I still see everybody smoking.
Maybe we're just going to the places where they smoke.
Yeah. But e-cigs are even more on the rise, unfortunately, with high schoolers.
Right.
And, this worries me greatly, because I know one of our daughter's friends vapes. And the popcorn lung, I mean, there's no fooling around with that. It's deadly. But I'd love to know what, your thoughts are on how big tobacco must be feeling. Are they getting into big vape? Like what is the thought there?
Yeah, this is something that I haven't really thought about in a while.
Oh, okay.
Actually, it's something I thought about a long time ago, because my dad smoked for years and years and years.
Like decades, right?
Yeah, at least 30 years, maybe.
Wow.
So it was something that was kind of more in the forefront of my everyday life.
Yeah.
Growing up, but that was like 30 years ago now too.
Yeah.
30 years in the past. And there's a lot of things that have changed. I'm sure big tobacco is diversifying into e-cigarettes, the edibles market, the weed. Well, I think no matter what, we have to look at where the money's coming from. Like you said, where the lobbyists are. There's a lot of decades-old lobbying for big tobacco in Washington. So, like everything, we have to kind of follow the money. Who's backing what? And from like a big pharma perspective, it's good for business if people continue to smoke for big pharma, because the more they smoke, the more they get sick from lung cancer, any number of lung-related illnesses, and big pharma is there to make them feel better. So,
Yeah, but couldn't you argue that the same thing would take into consideration, like, we're going to get lots of people getting sick from vaping too eventually, don't you think?
probably, but I think tobacco with regular cigarettes, the amount of harmful chemicals in a regular cigarette is going to get you a lot sicker a lot quicker.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
So this is another topic big tobacco we'll have to come back to.
Yeah, because if big tobacco, as you say, like, has so much money and they're trying to kill vaping, are they the ones who are sponsoring the research that vapes are harmful?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, where's the money coming from?
Yeah, so I guess we'll have to look at that.
All right, let's wrap it up there for this week. We're going to come back to a couple of these topics in future episodes.
Yeah, but we just wanted to kind of, jump in, say hi. We haven't been on air for a couple of weeks, and life's busy. Life gets in the way, as I'm sure you all know. But we wanted to kind of get back to it, and so we thought a little bit of a little tiny news segment would be a good way to do it. So, but for now, we'll definitely be back soon. And so this is Science signing off and saying, stay curious, but rely on the facts.
And I am Conspiracy, and remember, being paranoid is smart. See you next time. This episode of Science vs. Conspiracy Over Coffee was produced by Story Monkey Productions.